What's up, everybody? Peter X, so Coffer here. Um, Welcome to my YouTube channel. Gonna open up another sub channel. I know what you're thinking. How many sub channels you gonna have? Well, I'm a Gemini, and this is just how we roll. I mean, we get a lot of ideas, and sometimes you just gotta run with them when they're good. So the topic of this new sub channel: team building in the 21st century. And so this episode is Team Building 101. Don't know how many episodes I'm going to get out of this, but it's an interesting thing and concept. Trying to get in front of things, usually, you're grabbing trends as they come along. But um, so I think of team building. I think in the '90s, networking was the big thing, and now personal branding is a big thing. And I think in the future, team building is going to be a big thing. And when I talk about team building, I'm really talking about once you find your tribe, and that tribe, or forming a tribe with a purpose, so to speak. So I'll get to that as we go. Do a little, I don't know, lay some groundwork first. So a lot of this stuff out of here in this first section coming from personaltalent.com, vantagecircle.com, indeed.com, and upwork.com. So when you think of teamwork, we usually think of the a manager or a team in the office, or a small business owner building a team. So I'm going to work off of that first and talk about that. Um, and so yeah. Yeah, so the office is where most of us are aware of team building. If you're an athlete on a team, you're aware of that as well. So where I'm kind of thinking of going with this is uh, looking at Prince and his two bands. He had three. I might get into Third Eye Girl, but mainly the Revolution and MPG, and talk about how Prince constructed those bands and how they served different purposes for Prince. I'm going to look at the Beatles and the inner um, personal skills in that band, and what each member brought to the band. And I'm going to bring it to sports to an extent. I mean, I'm not going to get into X's and O's. I mean, I know my, I don't know plays and all that, but I know my sports pretty well. But it's more or less looking at the CEO, and looking at some of these coaches and how they manage their talent, how they put their talent together. So that's kind of where I'm going, and again, I'm kind of extrapolating out, how to build your own teams. So I think, with AI and this, advanced manufacturing, and uh, just these computer generated skills, and how quickly the economy is changing, and jobs are being lost. I mean, 3 years ago you thought you were set for life if you were a coder, and now, I mean, AI does code. So I mean, a lot of coders are out of jobs now. So let's talk about team building in the workplace. So I mean, you want to get, uh, when you start building a team, and this is, let's just come at this, for lack of as a better term, as a someone who wants to start a new business. So share goals and a vision. That one, you need that. Uh, Diverse skills and sets and strengths of this team you're going to build. You want trust and relationship, not only for the person leading the team, but the folks in the team, with each other and with the leader. Strong communication and cooperation. Five, you want a healthy conflict resolution. Six, well-defined roles and responsibilities. Very, very important. And oftentimes things, you know, um, lack of morale, and really just, dysfunction in organizations and workplaces happen because of lack of well-defined roles. And then take calculated risk and experimentation. So, putting that hat on, most of the, these are the things I extrapolated out of those 4 websites I talked about earlier. And most of these stuff on websites and the internet sites I looked at when it talks about team building, talks about relationships within the team and how to get along with the team. And so this is a little different approach I'm taking in that, it's literally building a team. So yeah. All right. So I think I had 7 things in that first when it talks about building a team. Number 8 is promote individual development, because you want to people to grow and to gain new skills and whatnot. And then finally, number 9, don't micromanage your team. You're putting a team together. Go back and look at the skills and the strengths. I mean, when you put a team together and you have to micromanage it, that's a problem. I mean, that's on you as a leader. So you can't micromanage teams. You can't, it's not going to be a very good team. It's not going to last very long if there's micromanaging going on. Now, in order to build a good team, you have to have leadership. And I'm not going to go into, there's many different theories of leadership and number 1. So yes, there's a lot of different leadership models. So, I mean, if you find a leadership model and work off of it, or just learn it organically and if you want to learn by experience, if you want to be a great leader, and you care about the folks around you and the people, your peers that will be leading at times, then, it'll happen. But you have to, it's not just about you, it's about, the team as well. So that's number 1, find a leadership, model and whatnot. And and leadership is not, leaders aren't born. Leadership is learned, and it's an ongoing process. Got to go back to this bugaboo of micromanaging. Can't stand micromanaging. I've had bosses who manage, and it's a reflection of about a quote unquote leaders insecurities. Now, as we get interns every year, and I certainly use my interns differently now than I did when I first started at the Indiana House of Representatives. And rather than micromanage, I just took on a lot more. But with technology, new things coming, to manage the workflow better, I've over the years have let my interns do a lot more. But I would rather take on more myself rather than micromanage, because micromanage is not good. So what does micromanaging do? It stifles individual growth. It stifles creativity, the lifeblood of any group, any small business, any business in general. It hampers the team because you want more leaders, not fewer leaders, and then you can't really develop leadership, if you're micromanaging. And it breeds a dependence. Um, so, I mean, when it comes to micromanaging, let go of perfection. Uh, you have to learn to delegate. There's a rule I learned, and over the years I've read a lot of different leadership books. Some of it political, some of it not. But not just I'm a Democrat, but not just Democrats, but Republicans. But one of the leadership rules that came out around Reagan is if someone in your team can do the job as good as you can, delegate that task. Um, and that's a very good rule of thumb to have. Because, as you know, the CEO, so to speak, and over everything, and kind of overseeing different, uh, aspects of a group, organization, or business, you can't be bogged down in all the little details. And then you're going to have to add the right people to your team as your needs change, and as technology changes and the market changes. So keep that in mind. You can't be static. The other thing too is realize people on a team are going to make mistakes, and mistakes lead to growth. If you trust your team members, the mistakes will be worth it. And I go back to, I've said this, I said this in um, my episodes dealing with uh, personal branding it's not about creating followers. It's ultimately about creating more leaders, because the more leaders you nurture, that expands your base of knowledge and your network, so to speak. So don't count your followers, count the number of leaders you've helped mentor. So we create, most human beings, because we're social animals, we create what I call our chosen family. I mean, these are groups that you choose to associate with, and you're like, oh, this friend and this friend might get along. Let me get them together. It's also called building a tribe. So, really, what this sub channel is about is building a a tribe or your chosen family with a purpose. So because tribes, I mean, there's belonging, there's that sense of belonging, there's nurturing, there's leaning on each other when you need that. But this is a different, this is taking the whole thing, your comfort, your that tribe to a different level, and a tribe with a purpose. And so it's interesting. I've had two, and these happen or kind of by accident in some ways and organically. And but it's really good. I've had two experiences now with this tribe with a purpose, and they're all former interns of mine, and it just coming out of the pandemic in 2021, one of my interns, he's probably in his mid 30s. He came back, and he was um, came back to Indianapolis, and he was having, meeting people. He was born and raised in Indianapolis, and he's out in DC, but he came back, spent the summer, and had meetings with his different friends and his different groups, and he started blending some of this. And so I saw that, and I was like, this is really interesting. And he's always been, this friend and former intern is always, would talk to strangers. I've never been, a huge talk to stranger person. I just keep to myself. And coming out of the pandemic too, I mean, I love the pandemic because I'm kind of an introvert. So when we went into, quarantine, that was, I mean, I not had that space to really deconstruct and think things through in a while. And honestly, I mean, this YouTube channel wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the quarantine. So I've always been, I need my space and my quiet time to come up with new things. But, you need to be social. And so this first team kind of, came out of this experience coming out of the pandemic, and it and as I said, it happened organically. And so I'm a little older. They're all my interns. So basically, what this group does is it gets together and just kind of they talk about professional strategies and Um, these folks have had different experiences, so internships, you know, going to work in DC, things like that, because we all share the Indiana State House in common. So it's it's peer help. Peers helping each other, and we usually, it's always over food, and uh, and they all now they talk and text on their own. So it ends up being it's about it varies from 3 to 5, 6 individuals, but it is really I find it really rewarding. Now in this team, they're all my former interns. I'm kind of a mentor for them, and going back to earlier in the episode, and I talk about uh, maybe at some point I'll do a whole episode on the mentor mentee relationship. But you kind of you choose your mentees, and mentees choose their mentors. And so one of the things you have to realize is that when you choose to mentor somebody, that person is going to make some mistakes, and you got to trust them that they're going to learn from that mistake, their mistakes, and let them make their mistakes, and help them through it, or if not, support them through it. Because sometimes there's not much you can do to help them, but trust that they'll make their way through it. So that's very important in mentee relationships. Is because some people like the mentor, and they get really pissed off when the mentees you know do things, make mistakes, and that's just, hey, that's gonna happen. Deal with it. And so when I was at Purdue, I had three professors in particular. Professor Anthony Lamel in sociology, who's passed away. He was a major influence, on my as a mentor. And Dr. Floyd Hayes, political science, Purdue University, and then Dr. Lewis Gordon, professor of philosophy. He's now back at the Ivy League. But all three of them, mentored me and taught me a lot, and really prepared me for the Indiana House of Representatives. And because the higher education is a pretty political environment. Even within departments and stuff like that. It's gotten a lot more politicized now with what's going on in Florida and whatnot, and all that stuff. But it's always been a political environment. But these three professors really prepared me for my life in politics. And as I said, that first team was just kind of happened organically, and then it's only in the last, I don't know, really this year, the last 4 months, I've started analyzing it to why it it worked, and why it's been so rewarding for everybody on the team. And then when I was doing that, I realized I almost had a second team come out of it. And I kind of do, there is sort of a second team again, of staff at the Indiana House of Representatives, and interns. Some of the key folks left. I mean, after we only have interns for the session, and a couple of them went back home. But two of them have gone on. Well, three of them have gone on, and kind of are budding leaders in themselves, and doing kind of what I do. But it was, we had a lot of shared interests, uh, but we still talk. And the good thing is, these two budding leaders, I can now send people my way for them to help. I mean, two of them are in DC, and so I can, when I know someone wants to go out, and do an internship in DC, we've already done this, but hey, call so and so, they'll show you the ropes, and so that it's a good thing. So yeah. So what are some of the advantages of this kind of new team building I'm experiencing? I'm trying to lay out? Well, first of all, I mean, with the active team I'm in, it really is a bit a sort of cooperative economics, because a lot of it is helping each other out with um, professional career decisions. So that's always it's always helpful. So that's number one. Number two, similar to number one, but the hive mind. I mean, these are folks who are getting together and talking about their different experiences and comparing notes, so to speak. Three is, there's mentorship. Even though they're all my interns, they're mentoring each other in some ways too. Four, there's strength in numbers. I mean, you know, there is, there's a time to be the lone wolf, and I love being the lone wolf on certain things, but there's strength in numbers. And, when you have a team with a purpose, that just gives you a little extra oomph and a lot more confidence in other people. So yeah, I'm using a different method on this. I mean, it's I'm kind of, you know, working off of experience here, and as I go along, I'll shape this. I don't know if this episode is as sharply defined as I would like, but it's, I'm kind of have clay here, and I think, I know as I go along and talk things through and get more examples and dive in, with the bands, the musicians, the Beatles and Prince and sports and coaching. I think it's gonna it'll flesh itself out. But let's go back. I'm gonna close with the a someone who wants to start a small business. So first of all, um, again, know the strengths and weaknesses of the people you might recruit to be in your business, and try to hide their flaws. Chemistry between members of the team. That's up to that's what leadership is about. Three, great sports teams, mirror the personalities of their coaches. So, man, I mean, when you look at, I'm a Purdue guy, you look at the Purdue basketball team, just played for the national championship and lost. Even that, the Boilermakers, reflect Matt Painter, and vice versa. The UConn players reflect their coach, and that's just how it goes. But they you have to be self-disciplined. You can't, if you want to have a disciplined, well-oiled machine, you have to be disciplined yourself. Four, build a structure that is collaborative. I know I'm a big Apple guy, big Steve Jobs, even though he has, I would have worked for Steve Jobs. I think I saw the movie that they did off of the biography that Jobs authorized. I can only watch 10 minutes of it because, he's just being a total asshole. But, he could be a total asshole, but he still had loyalty, and he had people at Apple who still loved him, and I mean, he produced a great product. I don't think, you don't have to be an asshole to be, to really be a good business person, or to be a good leader to, accomplish, great things. But that was his thing. But in studying Steve Jobs, I ran across, Bill Gates, who could also be an asshole with his employees. But one of the interesting things that came out that um, Bill Gates was still at Microsoft when maybe he may have been transitioning out, or he was still involved. He was involved. I don't think he was the CEO when the iPad dropped. when Apple dropped the iPad. But he was, I think Ballmer was the CEO, but he was still involved in the day-to-day operations of Microsoft, and he wanted to get on Microsoft to get on and get their own tablet out. Well, lo and behold, the way Microsoft was structured, it was very territorial. There were a lot of different silos, and it could never happen. So the guy who started the company could not get his idea through because of the way it was structured. Now, Bill Gates is responsible for how I just find it amazing that you're the CEO and you're like, I want this done, and it doesn't get done. I mean, Microsoft never ever has put out a tablet, and I just even the cell phone, they had a cell phone briefly for about 2 or 3 years and it bombed. I just find it crazy that you founded a company, you're one of the biggest CEOs, most famous CEOs in the history of capitalism. You couldn't even get your own company to do to manufacture a tablet. But it's how you structure the company. And he's responsible for that. And for some reason, it worked back in the day. But, Apple's not, Microsoft is not the most, what's the word, innovative company. I mean, they're a software company. They're still a software company. I mean, he was able to muscle through the Xbox, but a lot of that, zoomed late after everybody else was well into, the digital music players. I forget what they call those, iPods, whatever. But, just interesting. So finally, going back to small business owner, lead by example and demand accountability and be accountable yourself. So yeah, I'm looking forward in this journey. We'll see where it goes. I'm just kind of putting ideas out there. This is probably going to be a slow moving sub channel just because I'm kind of developing it, and there's not a lot of literature out there, so I'm kind of learning as I go with this. So bear with me, but yeah. So a tribe with a purpose. That's what we're trying to do. I'm a part of another. Bill Crawford had a team, of people. Mostly at times they were paid, at times they weren't, who did a lot of stuff for him and did a lot of stuff in the community and made a real difference in the Indianapolis community because of their work for Bill. But he had a team. He could call on people to do stuff, oftentimes for free in Indianapolis, and really good results. And the other team I'm involved with is Maggie Lewis, who's a counselor here in for the city of Indianapolis. Was president of the council for a good while, and she's put together a team. And so, actually, as I go through this, I'll be consulting her and some of her team members and getting feedback and stuff. But it is, this is going to be a work in progress, but I think some good will come out of it. So thank you for coming through. Appreciate your support. Got 5 albums out, and everything is attached to the YouTube channel. Now I'm also on all the streaming services, and I got 2 science fiction fantasy novels and a novella on Amazon. So until next episode, have a good one. Bye.